call the Board of Public Works meeting of Monday, October 5th to order. Number 2, approval of minutes from September 14th. Motion by Mr. Fire, second by Mr. Bargender. Comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Citizens' comments. I see a lot of staff people here, so we'll move on. Not that you're not citizens, folks. So just, yeah, I was bailing myself out a little bit. Construction aid updated, presented by Chris Hawley, Street Superintendent. Chris.
Good evening, everybody. It seems like it's been a while since we last met. I think it's about 3 weeks now, but just want to give you another staff update. I think I reported at the last meeting that we did have a retirement. Brian McClung, his last official day is tomorrow. He's using a personal holiday tomorrow. And we have interviews set up for tomorrow afternoon and Thursday. So we had a pretty good pool of candidates to choose from. We'll be interviewing 6 people. Give you an update on what's going on out there. The mill and replace projects are going really well. Final lift of asphalt has been placed on Butternut just south of 17th and 26th between Washington to Felker, and 25th Butternut to Felker. The only final lift of asphalt we have to do yet is on Schmidt between 14th and 17th. American Asphalt was in town today. They actually were paved on Saturday on Butternut and, and Butternut and 25th, I think, and then 26th today, and then they moved up to the Cleveland project. Apple and Cleveland, just south of the Madison Elementary Schools, shaped, and we're just raising manholes and water valves. Should be done tomorrow, and that should be ready for the first lift of asphalt, pending American Asphalt schedule. Hume, as you recall, we could not pulverize that street due to the fabric that was on that, but that's all been reconstructed and ready for final grading and getting water valves and manholes raised on that project. And that would do it for the mill and replace projects. We'll have shouldering and a little bit of black dirting to do on those yet. We've actually started to do some miscellaneous work with that crew, setting new culverts and knocking out some of that pothole patching and stuff with that crew. Overlay project on South Central is the last one of the year. We have a large crew on that one right now that's moving right along. All the pavement is down on all the concrete patch pavement is down on the east side, which would be northbound between 29th and just short of the Marshfield Utilities. And we actually switched over the north end of that project and started working on that west lane of the southbound, and that's moving along quite well also. So we'll be shifting the rest of the traffic over to the east side midweek this week, so we have a little traffic control, and probably do that early in the morning or before traffic picks up. So look for that to be all switched over to that one side. Miscellaneous storm sewer repairs have been completed on the bike path off of Oak by the hospital and behind Grant School. And we also had that same company is doing our BMO Harris storm sewer repair there. They were in 2 weeks ago Friday, and we kind of did a recon on it and had to revamp our repair sleeve on that a little bit, and they'll be coming back in hopefully within a week or so. I'm not sure if I reported on this vertical sanitary risers that we did for Sam's crew over at the Wastewater Treatment Plant. We did 7 vertical sanitary lining laterals a couple weeks ago. Great Lakes TV and Seal did the work, and 6 of them were over on 7th and Schmidt by Columbus School, and we did one on 17th and Palmetto. Just to let the public know, the 17th and Palmetto patch is all done, and that's all open up to the public. But what I wanted to say about that project, it went very well. It took us about 3 days to do those 7 vertical risers, and the owner of the company stopped out by us, and he complimented the crew and everybody on how great it was to work with us, the cooperation and the teamwork between his guys and our guys doing the work. And he travels all over the Midwest and does this type of work. And he had complimented us. He says, you don't see this type of cooperation between municipalities very often. So he was very complimentary on that. The last thing, believe it or not, we're already thinking about the winter and that 4-letter word, snow. We started transitioning some of our vehicles, some of our smaller trucks, getting the salters ready to go. And so we'll be calibrating them by the end of the month. So we're thinking about it. We're getting plow routes ready to go, and It's not gonna be long now. So, patching work, now that, the last of our, asphalt, work is getting completed, we'll be ramping up into the second phase of the American Asphalt, contract, which is patching work. And that's scheduled for later on this month, probably into early November. And the McMillan Street painting now is, is all marked out, and we should get that painted sometime this week too. With that, I'll take any questions.
Anybody have any question? Mr. Bargander.
Thank you, Chair. About a month, last meeting, I think we talked about crack filling on concrete streets.
Yep.
Is that still planned for this
Yes,
year?
I just talked to Mike Lynn from American Pavement Solutions last week, and he will be in here probably within the next 2 weeks to do that process. So,
Okay,
yes.
thanks.
Yep,
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Chris.
you're welcome.
Next, we'll have Tom Turchi, City Engineer. Tom.
All right, our first project, or a big one, is Cleveland Street from Central to Daggy. Today we had American Asphalt in there, and they did the surface coat from Pine to Walnut. So everything on Cleveland from Central Avenue to Walnut is now done, and on Pine Street from Cleveland to Blodgett is now completed. There's about a day's worth of concrete work left on the remaining portion of the project between Pine and Daggy, and anticipate that should go pretty quickly, and then they'll put some topsoil in there later this week, and it'll be ready for when America can get back in shape and get that paved. So that project is moving along very quickly. Sanitary sewer interceptor relocation project, Vandehey Waters Aquatic Center. This has been awarded to Haas Sons. That project will be starting the week of October 12th. We held a pre-construction meeting for that on October 1st. Sanitary sewer lining contract is about 88% complete this year. Another note that we have, We Energies is just about complete with the repairs at 5th and Peach with their crossing of a revised enlarged gas main. They will be probably doing some additional crossings of Vine and Ash by excavation, but those won't be on as high order streets. The Oak Avenue storm sewer, which was installed in 1975, which is now rusted through, and we're looking at the replacement. Right now, last week I received a notification that Doyne would probably be doing the repairs next week sometime. We'll see how his schedule works, but at this point, that's what his schedule reads. I think that's pretty much it for our project. Any questions?
Questions for Tom? Okay, thank you, Tom. Quentin, I forgot to keep looking at the screen here. So say,
I'm good.
holler at me if I miss you. Okay, number 5, approval of utility easement for TDS Telecom on city-owned land at 2601 East 34th Street, Wastewater Treatment Plant Site, presented by Tom Turchi, City Engineer. Tom.
All right, TDS Telecom is planning to provide service to the Marshfield Utilities generator site. At 2510 East 34th Street, the preferred route to serve the site crosses Wastewater Treatment Plant Site. The area in question is shown on the attached drawing. An easement is typically not required when a utility line enters a parcel to serve that parcel. But when the utility crosses a parcel that it does not serve, an easement is warranted. In this case, TDS line will pass through a small area of wastewater treatment plant site. The easement will run along the edge of the site outside the fence and will not interfere with the treatment plant use. A copy of the proposed easement is attached. So basically there's they want to run their line in on wastewater treatment plant site and then come around to the south to serve the building. The yellow line is the proposed line for the easement. So therefore, I'd recommend approval of the easement as requested.
Motion by Mr. Fisher, second by Mr. Fire. Comments, questions? All those in favor say aye. Or roll call, please.
Roll. Adam,
Yes.
Quentin,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and Tom.
Yes. Thank you. Number 6, review of speed limit on Spencer Street, presented by Tom Turchi, city engineer. Tom?
All right, we received a request to take a look at the posted speed limit on Spencer Street. Currently, this portion of Spencer Street, highlighted in red on the attached photograph, is posted at 35 miles per hour. In my review of the Administrative Code of Traffic and Parking Regulations, does not identify Spencer Street as being designated as 35 miles per hour. I believe that the 35 mile per hour sign was most likely placed during the reconstruction of the Veterans Parkway as part of the DOT project that was completed in 2005. Typically in the city of Marshfield, those streets that follow the municipal border, such as Lincoln Avenue or Galvin Avenue, for example, are posted at 25 or 35 miles an hour or greater. In the same sense, our low volume residential streets are posted at 25 miles per hour. Since this street is primarily residential and was not specifically designated for 35 miles per hour, I would recommend that changing the speed limit sign to 25 mile an hour would be appropriate. We did not conduct any speed studies on this section of road, and a review of traffic crashes for the last 5 years on this portion of Spencer Street revealed no traffic crashes. Therefore, I'd recommend Spencer Street between Pop Avenue and Lincoln Avenue posted at 25 miles per hour.
Motion? Motion by Mr. Fire, second by Mr. Rosendich. Comments or questions? Mr. Bargan?
Tom, you had mentioned you had a request. Where did that request come from?
A resident that lived on that section,
Okay.
they noticed a 35 mile an hour sign, and I could not find any action by the board or the council at any point that raised it to 35 miles an hour.
Well, in the last 10 years, there's been a lot of construction on that stretch of road.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, on the north side, that was just farm field. And I can understand at that point why it was 35 miles an hour. But now with all the residences, I imagine there's pedestrians and kids on bikes, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it is a really good idea to lower that down to 25. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Roll call.
Roll call. Quentin, you got me goofed up here.
Adam?
I know, I'm sorry. I got a runny nose. I want to make sure I'm keeping people
Yeah, I
safe.
know.
All right. Adam?
Yes.
Quentin?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes,
Ken?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
thank you. Number 7, review of traffic control at the intersection of 17th Street and Locust Avenue. And guess what? Presented by Tom Turchi, city engineer. Tom?
Who would have guessed? All right. Our office received a request just to take a look at the yield sign at the intersection of Locust Avenue and 17th Street. The current traffic control at this intersection is yield condition, with Locust Avenue yielding to 17th Street. Locust Avenue is posted at 25 miles per hour, and 17th Street at this location is 15 miles per hour. In the 2007 to 27 comprehensive plan, the streets are classified Locust Avenue as a local street and 17th Street as a collector. Reviewing the traffic crash history for the last 5 years at this intersection, we've had 1 traffic crash. It was a single vehicle and a collision with a sign. From the traffic crash data, this intersection is operating at an acceptable level of safety. Took a look at vision triangles, and there are no obstructions per the code of vision triangles. Even though this intersection has not met any warrants for a change to traffic control, because there is another aspect for consideration of a stop sign versus a yield sign. This would be the number of pedestrians that utilize this specific intersection to access Wildwood Park. Overflow parking extends on to Locust Avenue during some of the busy summer months. I would expect that following the opening of the Vandahy Waters Aquatic Center, pedestrian access to Wildwood Park will only increase. Therefore, I'd recommend that Locust Avenue at 17th Street be a one-way stop controlled, with Locust Avenue stopping for 17th Street. And I further recommend that the Administrative Code of Traffic and Parking be amended to reflect this change.
Thank you, Tom, for getting rid of that yield sign. I would entertain a motion, please. Quinn, were you itching or were you making a motion? Oh,
That was it. Sorry.
all right. You want to make a motion, Quinn?
Yeah, I'll motion.
Okay, go ahead. Mr. Fires, second. Roll call, please.
Adam,
Yes.
Quentin,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes,
and Mike.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, number 8, approval to proceed with accelerated engineering for the Lincoln Avenue 5th Adler Street reconstruction project, presented by Tom Turchi, city engineer. Tom?
All right, in March of this year, the city was notified by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation that our Lincoln Avenue 5th Street to Adler Road project was awarded funding through the STP Urban Funding Program. In June of this year, the city executed a state municipal agreement with the WisDOT, and we now have authorization to proceed with the project. The city's adopted capital improvement program includes funding for engineering for this project in 2023 and construction for 2024. In discussing the project with WisDOT's project manager, he indicated that it is a good idea to get engineering started sooner than the year prior to construction for several reasons. First, if complications are encountered during the design process, you don't risk delaying the construction. Second, if real estate acquisition or easements are required, you can have this done in enough time for the acquisition process. Third, and maybe most importantly, if the design is done early and the construction of other projects gets delayed, our project could be a candidate for advancement into an earlier year. With that in mind, staff is suggesting that we begin the design process in 2021. Since this project is beyond our normal engineering capacity and WisDOT design process for the use of federal funds requires much greater level of detail, mostly in the permitting and other formats. Our local projects, this project will require consultant services. We would begin the selection process after the first of the year and hope to have a consultant on board by mid-year. Project design is funded 100% locally and is estimated at $130,000. Construction costs are split 80% federal and 20% local. Staff is suggesting that budgeting $50,000 in the 2021 to get started with the design process. The remaining design would be budgeted in 2022 and possibly into 2023, depending on the schedule. To fund the $50,000 in 2021, staff is suggesting that the asphalt paving program be reduced by $50,000 from $1,918,000 to $1,868,000. Therefore, we recommend approve including the $50,000 for the 2021 budget to begin the engineering for the Lincoln Avenue 5th Street to Adler Road project, with the funding to come from a reduction of $50,000 in the 2021 asphalt paving program, reducing it from $1,918,000 to $1,868,000. Are there any questions?
I would entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Fire, second by Mr. Rosendich. Comments or questions? Mr. Bargander.
thank you, Chair. Steve is here. Didn't we kick around the idea that we may reduce the asphalt projects slightly for the budget in 2021? Was there talk about that, Steve? And how would that affect reducing or borrowing $50,000 from that fund to start engineering earlier?
Are you talking about during the CIP process that this came up?
Yeah,
or later?
didn't we talk a little bit about possibly reducing some asphalt paving?
Steve, I think where that came from, it was if we were going to do 17th Street and then we were going to.
And then we pulled back on 17th. That's exactly right.
Okay,
Yeah, exactly, Tom. The idea of making room for 17th Street by pulling back a little bit on things like asphalt mill in place, but now we're not doing 17th until 2022.
so shouldn't be a problem.
Right, correct.
Okay, I just,
Yep, thanks.
clarification, thank you.
Anybody else? Roll call, please.
Adam,
Yes.
Quentin,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes. Motion carries. Number 9, presentation on sanitary sewer lining process, presented by Tom Turchy, city engineer. Tom.
All right, we'll go through the sanitary sewer lining process. I'm going to put it up on the Zoom screen so that it'll be easier to share. This is a video I made back in 2006 of the actual installation process for sanitary sewer lining. And I'll try maybe fast forward through some of it because it's like 11 minutes long. But to start with, they clean the sanitary sewer main, and they bring in a felt impregnated liner with resin, what you see coming out of a refrigerated truck, and they install it into the main, kind of like putting it in a sock backwards. And so they use air pressure or steam to get that pipe directed into the main itself. And here is a kind of what they call as a launching machine, which gets the air pressure to push that pipe out. Interesting, it's not letting me fast forward at all in this video. So here they're actually installing the liner into the pressurized machine. And so in this point, they're pressurizing the canister and it's pushing the inverted liner down and into the manhole, which then they're now directing into the main itself. And they just keep feeding it in until it actually gets into that liner or into the main. What they're doing is actually adding a little cooking oil to the outside of the liner just to help seal it as it goes into the machine there. Now at this point, the liner's halfway into the pipe itself, the hose pipe. So they're disconnecting it from the feeding line, and then they'll connect just the air pressure to the end tube to feed it the rest of the way. And here, what you're going to see here is that the liner is going to come into this manhole as they're pressurizing it, and it's going to come up and they're trying to catch the end of the liner so that they can tie this end of the liner off. And he misses. So basically, after the liner has been inverted through the entire thing, they then pressurize it and start adding steam or hot water. And in this instance, they're using steam, and they start cooking that liner. So the resin, it stays in the refrigerated truck. They then cook it to about 290, 300 degrees for about 4 to 6 hours, and that actually cures the pipe in place. From that, they then cut the ends open and we have a brand new host pipe.
There's Chris Holly's snow he was talking about. Bill.
Yeah, March of 2006.
Yeah.
Trying to get through to the good stuff. So from that, then we go in and they take and cut the service laterals back open after the hose pipe has been cured. This is the inside of a pipe that was put in place, inflated, cured in place. This is a brand new pipe inside of an existing pipe. And you can see there's a little dimple up on the upper side there. And they come in with this air run cutter that they can actually go in, and it's basically a gentleman sitting in a truck watching this on a video camera, and he cuts that service lateral back open for the service. We basically can take and rehab an entire pipe without actually doing any excavation in the streets by doing it this method. In recent discussions, it saves about $100 a linear foot for a rehabilitation of these sanitary sewers by this, and we get another 50 or 75 years of life out of that pipe without having to do any excavation. And a lot of these operators are pretty darn skilled when it comes to running the pipe and running the cutter as they cut the surface lateral back open. So following that portion, what they do is they come back in and they brush it to get rid of any burrs or anything that can catch material on the end of the pipe. So they come in with basically a steel wheel and run it around the edge of the pipe to get any pipe or material that might be still stuck there, and then clean that edge so that we don't have any issues with clogs or anything in the future. What we also do is we actually grout first 18 inches of the connection and the pipe going up. So what they'll do is they'll use a bag to inflate in there, which is kind of a T-shaped tube, and they'll pump grout in there to seal the joint between the liner and the lateral that they're actually reinstating. So from that, we've actually lined about 47 or 48 miles of the city's sanitary sewer system, 132 miles by this method. So we've done about 35 or 40%. I actually have done a little presentation on that too, and how much it saves us overall for this. We started this process in 1998 was the first time we ever tried lining. Not to say there's been problems here or there with any process that we do, but basically this has been one that is getting better and better every time we do it, and it's saving the city lots of money. Are there any questions?
Before we get into questions, Sam, as long as you're here, you want to just speak to the fact, wise, it's saved just a lot on that, if you would, please.
I guess when I started here in 2011, since then, back in the early days, we probably had 5-6 rain events a year at the wastewater plant where we'd peak out at 30 million gallons of flow. I know we didn't have any rain events this year. We got that. Last year, I think we had one at 25. So the overall amount of water that's come to the plant is way down from what it used to be. And the peaks are what really hurt you. When you're trying to treat wastewater with live bacteria and you flush them out down to the creek, they don't do you any good. So you got to keep all the bacteria in the plant, and those peak flows, getting rid of them, lining's the main reason that's happened.
Any questions for Tom or Sam? I guess we forgot the popcorn. Thank you, guys. Okay, number 10, recommended items for future agendas. Boy, must be the Packers going to be playing or something. Okay, motion to adjourn by Mr. Rosendich, second by Mr. Fire. Thank you, we are adjourned.